Have you ever stopped to really think what a blessing actually means to you? I mean, not just, random good luck, but something maybe more deliberate, something you can actually cultivate for real well-being. Well, today, that's our mission. We're going to explore some pretty timeless wisdom on exactly that, what makes up the highest blessings. And we're drawing our insights from this ancient source, a really profound text that feels surprisingly relevant even now.
It really is. That source is the Maṅgalasutta. It's a short but incredibly powerful text. You find it within the Khuddakapāṭhe, which is itself part of a larger collection of Buddhist scriptures, the Pali Canon, the core texts of Theravada Buddhism.
Okay, so let's set the scene a bit, because the story around this teaching is quite evocative. Picture this. It's late at night, deep in the Jetavana monastery.
And Jetavana wasn't just any place, right? It was famous, a spot in ancient India where the Buddhists spent a lot of time, delivered many teachings, a real hub.
Exactly. So in this peaceful contemplative setting, suddenly a deity appears, a radiant being apparently lighting up the whole place. And this deity approaches the Buddha.
And they're not just there for a chat. They have this really vital question. It's actually put forward in a verse, essentially asking, look, many gods, many humans, they've all thought about blessings. They all desire well-being. But what is the highest blessing?
Ah, so they asked the Buddha directly to declare it.
Yes, the Pali phrase is maṅgalasuttaṃ, declare the highest blessing. It's a deep question looking for fundamental truth, not just, tips for good fortune.
Wow, okay. And the Buddha responds.
He does, with a whole series of answers that are both profound and remarkably practical.
So that's what we're getting into now, unpacking these answers.
It's the plan. A pathway to well-being that honestly still holds up today.
All right, so this big request comes in. Tell us the highest blessing. Where does the Buddha even start with that? What's the first step on this path?
Well, interestingly, he starts right where we live our lives with our relationships, the company we keep. Verse 6.2, it says, Asavanaka balane pantanika savana pujaka pujanina.
Okay, can you break that down for us?
Sure. It translates roughly to not associating with fools, associating with the wise, and honoring those worthy of honor.
Right. So choose your friends wisely, basically.
It's deeper than just friends, I think. It's about recognizing that our entire environment, the people we interact with, the information we consume, it all shapes us. It shapes our thinking, our habits.
Yeah.
So this first blessing is about consciously choosing influences that uplift us and stepping away from those that might drag us down. Pruning and cultivating, you could say.
That makes sense, but, how do you identify the wise in today's world? It's not like people wear signs.
No, definitely not. It's less about titles or fame, much more about qualities. You look for people who show wisdom, sure, but also compassion, ethical behavior, genuine insight, people who challenge you in a good way, who inspire you to be better, not folks who reinforce maybe unhelpful habits or negative thinking.
Okay, so it's about discernment, looking for positive qualities. So after sorting out our social circles, where does the Buddha's advice go next? Does it broaden out?
It does, yeah. It expands from people to, place and purpose. Verse 6.3 talks about Pidrupadisavaso kabubeka katapunyunyata atasamapadetika.
Another one to unpack.
Right. It means living in a suitable place, having done meritorious deeds in the past, and setting oneself in the right direction.
Okay. Living in a suitable place, that seems straightforward enough. Find a supportive environment. But past meritorious deeds, what's that about?
Well, that touches on the idea of karma, the results of past actions influencing the present. It acknowledges that our starting point isn't always entirely in our control. But crucially, the verse immediately pivots back to what we can control now.
Which is?
Setting oneself in the right direction, atasamapadetika, and consciously choosing or creating that suitable place. It emphasizes our agency, our power to steer our lives regardless of the past.
I like that. It feels very empowering, not just being subject to circumstances, but actively shaping them and setting your own course.
Precisely. It's about conscious self-guidance.
This idea of active cultivation seems to be a theme. Does it extend to, skills and knowledge?
Absolutely. That's central to the next blessing. Verse 6.4 gives us, Bahusakanya kasipanya vinayo kasusikito supasita kayavaka.
Okay, what have we got there?
It translates to great learning, skilled craftsmanship, a well-trained discipline, and well-spoken words.
So learning stuff, being good at things, self-control, and speaking well.
Basically, yes. It's about holistic development, not just book smarts, but practical skills craftsmanship. And Vinaya, discipline, suggests self-mastery. And well-spoken words, that's not just being polite. It's about using language skillfully, beneficially. Communication that clarifies, helps, and avoids causing harm.
That focus on skillful speech feels incredibly relevant today, doesn't it? With social media and instant reactions.
Very much so. The power of words used well or poorly is immense.
Okay, so we've covered association, environment, self-direction, learning, skills, discipline, speech. What comes next? Does it move towards, say, family and work?
It does indeed. The focus shifts slightly to our closest circles and daily life. Verse 6.5 is, Matapitupahana putadarasa sagowanakula kamanta.
Let me guess. Something about parents.
You got it. Supporting mother and father, also cherishing one's wife and children, and engaging in unconfused occupations or actions.
Unconfused occupations, what does that mean exactly?
It points towards work or actions that are clear, ethical, and don't create complications or entanglements either for yourself or others. Take right livelihood, essentially. So this verse really highlights harmonious family life and ethical work as foundational for well-being. A stable base.
Right, a stable base at home and in how you spend your days. Makes sense. So the scope keeps widening. What's the next layer?
It broadens further into our wider ethical conduct and community connections. Verse 6.6 advises, Danenka dhammakarya kainata kanenka sagaho anavajani kamani.
Okay, sounds like generosity, isn't there?
Exactly. Generosity, dhammakarya, which is righteous conduct or living ethically, nikana kanenya sokaho, meaning supporting relatives or one's extended kin, and anavajani kamani, blameless actions.
Blameless actions. That's a high bar.
It is, but the idea is striving for actions that are free from fault, actions you don't regret, that don't cause harm. It links our personal ethics directly to our well-being. And notice the emphasis on supporting relatives. It extends that sense of care beyond the immediate family to the wider community network.
So it's really about being a positive ethical force within your relationships and community.
Precisely. Not just focusing inward.
It's quite a comprehensive picture building up. What about self-control, things we shouldn't do? Does that come into it?
Yes, very explicitly. The next verse shifts focus slightly towards restraint and mindfulness. Verse 6.7 talks about arati virati papa majapana kasanyamo apamado kadameso.
Okay, it looks like papa means evil or harmful things.
Correct. So it's abstaining and refraining from evil, harmful actions, then refraining from intoxicating drinks, majapana kasanyamo, and crucially, diligence in good qualities teachings, which is apamado kadamasu.
Ah, appamado. That sounds important. It's not just avoiding bad stuff.
Exactly right. It's not passive avoidance. It's active self-restraint coupled with this appamado heedfulness, vigilance, diligence. It's about being mindfully aware and proactively cultivating the good, not just steering clear of the bad.
So it's a very proactive kind of self-discipline.
Yes. Vigilant attention to what truly helps.
Okay, so we've covered actions, restraint. What about inner qualities, like character traits that lead to peace?
That's the next layer, focusing on internal states that foster peace. Verse 6.8 brings in Garavo kanivato kasantuika katenyute kalena damasavana.
Sikavava. Reverence, humility.
Yes, reverence and humility nivato. Then santui contentment, katenyuta gratitude. And finally, kalena damasavani, listening to the Dharma, the teachings, at the right time.
Contentment and gratitude. Those feel huge, especially contentment in a world that's always telling us we need more.
They are huge. And the Buddhist understanding of contentment isn't about apathy, just giving up. It's about appreciating what is present, finding sufficiency within, rather than constantly chasing external things for happiness.
So it's peace with the present, not resignation.
Precisely. And coupled with gratitude, it's a powerful combination for inner stability. And notice again the active element seeking wisdom, listening to teachings at the right times, is itself a blessing.
Right. Continuing to learn and refine your understanding.
Okay, what's next? We seem to be getting into quite subtle qualities now.
We are. The next verse highlights endurance and how we engage with feedback and learning. Verse 6.9 covers kantika, savakasata samenanyaka dasana kalena damasaka.
Kanti, that's patience, right?
Patience, yes. And savakasana is interesting. It implies being easy to speak to, open to correction, teachable, not defensive or rigid.
That's a tough one for many people. It can be. Then samakanika dasan, seeing ascetics or spiritual practitioners, drawing inspiration perhaps. And kalena damasakach, timely discussion of the Dharma, engaging in meaningful dialogue about these deep topics.
So patience, being open to learning, seeking inspiration, and talking things through Qualities vital for growth, really.
Absolutely. Inner strength through patience
Really?
and outward humility through dialogue and learning.
This list is incredible. It goes
Yeah.
from the very practical, like who you hang out with, all the way to these deep inner qualities. Where does it go from here? Does it point towards like a more spiritual goal?
It does. The next verse moves into what we might call higher spiritual aspirations. Verse 6.10 details, Tapoka brahmakaryanja aryasakana dasano nibbanasachi.
Okay, these sound more intense. Tapo, austerity.
Austerity or dedicated spiritual practice, yes. Brahmacharya is often translated as holy life or celibacy, but more broadly implies a life dedicated to spiritual purity. Then Arya Sakanadasana, seeing the noble truths, the core insights of Buddhism. And finally, Nibbana Sachikirya, the realization of Nibbana, or Nirvana.
Right, Nibbana, the ultimate goal in Buddhism. Liberation from suffering.
Essentially, yes, the
And so-
ultimate peace, the extinguishing of the causes of suffering. So these are clearly pointing towards the pinnacle of the Buddhist path. While maybe not everyone is actively pursuing Nibbana in this lifetime, the underlying drive here seeking truth, self-mastery, liberation resonates with a very deep human longing for meaning and peace.
Okay, so after laying out all these steps, all these different kinds of blessings from the practical to the spiritual, what's the culmination? What does the text say is the single highest blessing? This must be the payoff.
It really is. This is where it all leads. Verse 6.111 gives us the ultimate state.
Whoa, okay, let's break that down.
It means, for one whose mind is unshaken by the vicissitudes of life, sorrowless, stainless, and secure.
Unshaken by the vicissitudes of life. What are those?
That phrase, Khuddakapāṭhe, refers to the worldly conditions, sometimes called the 8 worldly winds. These are the unavoidable ups and downs of life, gain and loss, honor and dishonor, praise and blame, pleasure and pain.
Ah, so the things that constantly buffet us around.
Exactly. And the highest blessing is a mindset that nakamphati, doesn't shake, doesn't tremble when touched by these winds.
Wow.
And it's described further. Asoka, sorrowless, viraja, stainless or free from defilement, and kamat, secure, safe. It's a state of profound inner equanimity and resilience.
So it's not about controlling the external world, but achieving an internal state that's unshakable regardless of the external world.
That's the core insight. The ultimate blessing is internal. It's an inner freedom and inner security.
That's incredibly profound, an unshakable mind. Okay, so if someone cultivates all these previous blessings leading up to this state, what's the final outcome? What does the text promise?
The final verse, 6.12, provides the conclusion and the ultimate promise. It says, Etadisani katvana sabatanamaparajita sabate sotya gachanti tantesa maṅgalasutta.
And that means?
Having done these things, meaning having cultivated all these blessings, one is undefeated everywhere. One goes to well-being everywhere. For them, this is the highest blessing.
Undefeated everywhere. That's a powerful image. Not through fighting, though.
Not through fighting externally, no. It's an inner state of being undefeated because nothing external can fundamentally shake your well-being, your inner peace and security. You carry your well-being with you everywhere. That's the ultimate security.
So what a journey. We went from a deity asking a question late at night to this incredibly detailed, practical roadmap for life, covering everything from friends and work to gratitude, patience, and ultimately this unshakable mind.
It really is a complete guide.
And it makes it so clear that blessings, in this view anyway, aren't just luck. They're things you actively cultivate, actions, attitudes, and eventually this profound inner state.
Cultivated well-being, that's a good way to put it.
So maybe something for you, the listener, to think about. As you heard us go through these, did any particular blessing jump out at you? Which one resonates most deeply with where you are right now? And maybe consider what's even one small step you could take towards cultivating that. How might even that small step start to reshape your own sense of well-being and security?
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to crack open a text that's about 2,500 years old, but it offers this surprisingly modern blueprint for what it means to live a good life. It's called the Maṅgalasutta, and you'll see its wisdom is just as practical today as it was millennia ago. So let's dive in. I mean, it's the question, right? We all ask ourselves this in one way or another. We look for the answer in our jobs and our relationships and all these different experiences. But this search is nothing new. It's this ancient, totally universal quest for well-being. And this is exactly how our source text, the Maṅgalasutta, kicks off. The story goes that a celestial being, a deity, shows up before the Buddha. Why? Because this being had watched gods and humans, everyone, just struggling with this exact same question. So they ask him straight up, what actually brings well-being? What's the real deal? Now, here's what's so cool about the answer. The Pali word mangala gets translated as blessing, but the Buddha's response, it isn't about getting lucky or waiting for some divine handout. Nope. It's a practical checklist, a list of 38 principles, a step-by-step actionable guide for building a good life, right from the ground up. So where does this ancient path even begin? You might think it's with some big, grand spiritual act, but it's not. It starts right here, in our everyday world. The Sutta tells us that the absolute foundation of our well-being is built on two things: who we hang out with and where we decide to live. And the very first instruction is just crystal clear: avoid the company of the foolish and get close to the wise. Now, the text defines foolish not as someone who isn't smart, but as someone whose actions are, unskillful. They lead to harm, to regret. The wise, on the other hand, are the people whose actions lead to safety, to growth, and to peace of mind. It's basically a profound life hack. Your social circle really does shape your destiny. You can see how these three blessings just lock together to create this super solid base. You start with the right people. Then, you actively show respect for the good qualities you see in them, which, by the way, helps you grow those same qualities in yourself. And finally, you put yourself in a physical place that actually supports all this positive growth. If you can get these three things right, you've set the stage for everything else that's going to follow. Okay, so let's move on to the next set of principles and see how this all builds. Once you've got that foundation set, the focus shifts to how you actually act in the world. This is all about building a life of integrity, of purpose, through the things you do every single day. What comes next is this really elegant and practical progression for your life. It starts with empowering yourself, right? You gain knowledge, you learn a valuable skill. Then what do? You use that skill to take care of the people you love. And from there, you make sure that your work, your career, is ethical and blameless. And the results of all that hard work and integrity? You actually have the means, the capacity to be generous. You see? It's a whole integrated strategy for a really meaningful life. So the crucial point here is this deep, deep focus on our responsibilities. And notice the words used: cherishing your family, engaging in unconfused, you could say clear or ethical work. This isn't just about punching a clock or going through the motions. It's about bringing real care, real integrity, and mindfulness to the absolute core parts of our life. Okay, so we've established our place in the world. We've got our ethical conduct down, and now the path turns inward. This is where the sutta guides us to work on the internal stuff, the qualities of our own heart and mind. And let's be honest, this is often the hardest part of the journey, but it's also the most rewarding. Think of this next section as a toolkit for your mind. These aren't just, nice ideas. They are actual skills that you have to actively develop. Respect and humility, they keep our ego in check. Contentment, that frees us from that feeling of always needing more. And then you have qualities like gratitude, patience, and just being open to learning. These form the inner curriculum for a truly stable and resilient mind. Let's just zoom in on one of these for a second: khanti, or patience. The sutta basically presents this as a superpower. And it's not about just, waiting around quietly. It's an active kind of endurance. It's the inner strength to face all of life's challenges, criticism, loss, frustration, without getting emotionally thrown off course. It is a core ingredient of resilience. And then there's katanyuta, gratitude. I absolutely love the literal translation, knowing what has been done for you. Isn't that great? It's an active process of remembering the kindness and support we've gotten from other people. Practicing this directly fights back against feelings of entitlement or being alone, and it makes us feel more content and more connected to everyone around us. So, you do all this. You surround yourself with good people, you act with integrity, you cultivate patience and gratitude inside yourself. What's the payoff? What is the whole point? Well, the sutta points to a destination that is truly remarkable, a state of profound psychological and emotional freedom. Just Take a second and really let that image sink in. A mind that isn't thrown off balance when things go great or when they go horribly wrong. A mind that can experience winning and losing, praise and blame, pleasure and pain without being totally hijacked by them. This, right here, is the pinnacle of the entire path. The text describes this state with 3 beautiful, really powerful words. Asokam, which means sorrowless, Virajam, which means stainless or pure, and Kamam, which means secure. This is it. This is the ultimate goal, the highest blessing. A mind that has finally found a true and lasting refuge inside of itself. So, as we finish up here, I'll just leave you with a question to think about. Looking back at this ancient roadmap, everything from the company you keep, to the work you do, to the inner qualities you cultivate, which one of these 38 principles feels like the most important one for you in your life right now? It's a 2,500-year-old question that's still waiting for your answer.